You planted a seed. You gave it water. You put it in a bright sunny window. You were giving it everything it ever wanted out of life, and then it got a little floppy. But don't panic. You didn't fail as a gardener. You just put a little bit too much trust in that windowsill. Today I'm going to teach you the science behind why your seedlings are stretching to the sky. We're going to use some really cool big words to sound smart. And I'm going to show you the exact steps to take to fix this problem and prevent it from happening again. Let's get started. Today we're talking about leggy seedlings. Now, normally, if I hear something described as leggy or someone, that's usually a pretty good thing, right? In the case of your plants, it's not. A leggy seedling is one that is growing too fast, too tall, because it's reaching up for the light. In my case, I've got these farmer's market jalapenos that were kind of getting shaded out by another plant, and they started to stretch really fast. They even flopped over. If your seedlings look like that, or even taller and maybe floppier, you might be thinking, they're growing really fast. This is great. My first time planting seed. Look how quick they're getting tall. It's actually a bad thing, right? When you look at this tray, you want your seedlings to be nice and short and close to the ground, not tall and weak and easy to tip over. But what's going on here is really pretty simple. Your plant is searching for the sun. So gardeners have heard this for years. Like when you're starting seedlings, all you need is a warm, sunny, southern-facing window and everything will be just fine. Now, there are times when that can work. I have seen people successfully grow baby seedlings in a south-facing window that didn't get too leggy. But that's ideal conditions. If the angle of the sun isn't exactly right, if that window has a UV coating like most windows do these days, it's actually going to be blocking a lot of that light energy that your plant needs. Or if it's just overcast. There's storms in spring. You don't want your seedlings to pop up the day that it happens to be overcast and gray because they're going to immediately start searching and they're going to get leggy. And so why do your plants stretch to grow to the light like that? Well, it's actually a really cool thing called phototropism. Phototropism is really just your plant's way to sense the light and try and make itself grow taller and faster in the direction of the light. Let me draw a quick diagram to try and make sense of all of this. So you've got your plant growing, and it's in front of a nice window with the sun out in the sky here, shining its bright light in. You want that light to come in intensely, but it hits that window and it dissipates, it loses some of that sun energy. And what happens next? Your plants start to produce auxin. Auxin is the plant's growth hormone. This is what tells the plant, go, go, go. It makes it grow new green material, right? And make the plant taller. What happens here is the auxin all lines up on the dark side of the plant. The auxin is telling the shadowed part of the plant to grow faster, right? And what happens is it grows uneven. So it grows really fast up on the shaded side. The sunny side is still growing, but not as fast. So your plant actually leans up towards the light. It'll curve it, and now all of a sudden you have a weak, sad seedling. That's not what anybody wants. You don't want weak, sad seedlings, right? Why leggy seedlings are bad is because they produce plants that are not really ready for the real world, for one. And the plant is using all of its energy to grow upward and bend to look for that light source. That's a waste of energy that the plant should be using to build out its root system and really become a nice, compact little seedling. The easy way to think about this is like your peppers, all plants really, they need light, right? They eat light. It is their energy source. And if they don't have enough light, they're going to struggle. They're going to do anything they can to try to get more light. But especially fruiting plants need a ton of light, right? We measure that in what's called daily light integral. Without getting into a big, long explanation, think of it as like a standardized way to understand how many hours of light at a certain intensity your plant needs every day to thrive. So you can almost think of it like a bucket, right? It's like an amount. But if you have a plant in a windowsill, it's probably getting like a pint glass worth of light, and what it really wants is a 5-gallon bucket worth of light. And so you end up with leggy seedlings. They're weak, they're not healthy, they're expending their energy in all the wrong places, and you gotta fix it. So how do we fix it? The very first thing you're gonna wanna do, increase that light source. So if you're only relying on that window, you're gonna wanna add some artificial supplementary light. Ideally, that comes in the form of a grow light. You could really use almost any light as long as it is bright, intense, and full spectrum. I would highly recommend spending a little bit of money. It's a one-time investment. These lights last years and years and years. You can grow indoors with them after you're done with seedlings. If you want to grow something indoors all year, you can use a grow light. You can spend hundreds of dollars, you can spend thousands of dollars, or you can spend like $20 on an affordable LED grow light. So I've got this little light here from Sansi. It was like $17 on Amazon. It is not the brightest thing on earth. I wouldn't grow a full-size pepper plant with this, but for covering a tray of seedlings, it's gonna work. I mean, that's pretty stinking bright. The reason I prefer an actual LED grow light like that is that it's gonna be full spectrum. It's gonna be made with growing plants in mind. If it's decent enough, which again, I mean, that was only like $18, it's gonna include information on just how bright that light is at certain hanging heights. So you understand how close it needs to get to your plants to give them enough light. And you'll use that all year round if you're like me. I'm using that this year for supplemental seedling light. After it's done, I'm gonna put it upstairs to give my houseplants a little bit of extra light in some of those dark corners. So invest in a grow light. That's step one to fixing your leggy seedlings. But step two to fixing those leggy seedlings means you're gonna have to bury it. The interesting thing about nightshades like peppers, tomatoes, and eggplants is that when they have these long, thin stems that you're worried about, you can actually bury that in new soil when you transplant all the way almost up to the leaves, and it will be okay. It'll actually start growing more roots out of that stem over time. You can't do that with everything. I'm gonna say this now, I'm gonna stress it again, right? Only try that with certain plants like peppers, tomatoes, eggplants. If you try and bury a leggy cucumber or melon or like a bean, that stem is actually just gonna rot in the moist soil, so don't do that. But peppers, tomatoes, eggplants, you can bury it deep. So what I'm gonna do is really just take, let me move my high quality art supplies. Take your pot that it's gonna go into, very carefully remove one of these seedlings. All right, I've got two seedlings here. I'm gonna very carefully separate these, try and get just one of them out of here without ripping too many roots. All right, I'm gonna put one of those back in the seed cell for now. But you can see, we've got a good looking seedling here. It's just too stinking tall, right? This isn't extreme by any means, but I'm gonna show you because the principle works the same. So you've got your nursery pot you're gonna transplant it into. You'll wanna dig a hole that is deep enough that when the plant goes in, you bury that stem. So now, we've buried it almost all the way to the top, and it's gonna be fine. This is a farmer's market jalapeno plant. It is gonna grow roots out of that stem that is now buried. It is gonna work on building out a root system here over the next about 4 weeks. And then it's gonna go outside and it's gonna meet nature. And I can't wait. So that's step two, bury it. I can't stress this enough though. Only do this with plants like peppers, tomatoes, and eggplants. Almost anything else is going to rot the stem, and then you're gonna fail, and it's gonna be entirely your fault because I warned you. All right, I've made a mess here. I'm gonna call in the cleanup crew to take care of this while I go powder my nose. Oh, I thought we were gonna cut. Yeah, I do all my own cleanup too. Kind of a one-man show around here. So that's step two to fixing your leggy seedlings. There is, of course, a step three because any good process has step one, step two, and step three. Step three is usually profit. Sometimes it's something a little bit different. And in this case, it's one of the coolest words I've ever heard. Step three to save your leggy seedlings. You've already given them more light. You've already buried them deeper. And now you're going to rely on thigmomorphogenesis. That's not a made-up word. That's really what we're about to talk about. Thigmomorphogenesis is basically the biological process that happens when your plant reacts to external forces and influences, like wind. What happens here is actually pretty darn cool. So you've got your plant growing, right? And then you're going to introduce some wind. So what happens here is that when the wind is blowing that plant back and forth, it's actually creating tiny little tears in the cell wall of that stem. And those cell walls can heal themselves. And when they do, they actually come back stronger and thicker. Just like when you're at the gym getting swole, you're tearing muscle fibers, it rebuilds stronger and bigger, right? Same thing's happening here in thigmomorphogenesis. You end up with thicker stems and happier plants. That's a win. So thigmomorphogenesis, how do you do this? Well, it's really pretty simple. You'll just need to spend 3 hours a day blowing on your plants. Don't do that. Get a fan. Get a small oscillating fan. Ideally something that you can clip or mount right next to wherever your plants are. If you're using a grow tent like me, I just purchased a new one on the recommendation of some friends in the pepper community like Pepper Ranger and Bob Ross. They said, go get the AC Infinity. So I did. It was about 50 bucks, but it is meant to run in a grow tent. It has different wind patterns. You can tell it to like mimic the wind. It's cool. I'll leave a link below. Not affiliated, not sponsored, just a cool fan. But put that fan on your seedlings for at least a couple hours a day. You can actually leave it on technically like all day if you want to. I do like to give my plants a little break because it really helps balance out giving them what they need with the thigmomorphogenesis and helping prevent them from drying out too fast. Put the tray in front of a fan and leave it on all day, they're gonna dry out pretty fast. So I run mine the same period that I run my lights, and then when the lights go out, the plants get a break, they stay a little bit more moist that way, but it grows stronger plants. So these have been behind a fan for about a week now. I've already noticed that they're all standing up much straighter. My farmer's market jalapeno was completely flopped over. It has actually strengthened itself up because I've added a fan, and I moved it so that it was getting enough light. Keep this on long enough, and by the time you transplant, your seedlings are gonna look like tree trunks, right? I leave the fan on after they're in the nursery pots. These plants will have moving air on them at least 8 to 12 hours every day. It's important, it helps them get ready for the wind, and it prevents those lame, floppy, leggy seedlings from coming back. So that's it. That's the 3-step plan to fixing those leggy seedlings. And trust me, if you have leggy seedlings, you'll want to do this right away. Don't waste any more time letting them get unhealthy. Give them light, bury them deep, and rely on thigmomorphogenesis. That is an excellent Scrabble word, seriously. 19 letters. You couldn't even really do it. You'd have to have Genesis on there. And so, yeah, no, it's too many letters to even play on Scrabble. But boy, it would be huge. But look, gardening is full of mistakes. You learn and you do better next time. Or you turn to a channel like mine and maybe hit subscribe or become a member if you really want to help out and really get all the inside info on how you can save your plant mistakes. I got your back. Thank you for watching. If you want to learn more about when to start your seeds, watch this video here. And never forget, plants help us grow. They don't necessarily make us leggy. You got to work for that.